Yo, what is going on everyone? In today's video, I'm going to be building this beautiful outdoor couch made out of cedar 2x4s and pine 1x4s. I think it came out great and I hope you guys enjoy it, so let's jump right into SketchUp and I will show you guys my initial design. So as you probably know, outdoor furniture is quite expensive and that's what led me to designing and making my own couch. The cushions I am using are from Amazon and are 24 by 24 inches wide, which leaves a good amount of space between each seat. I know it's been quite some time since my last video, but me and my fiance just moved into a new house, so I finally have a garage slash shop to work out of, so I'm hoping I'll be able to get a lot more videos out this year. My shop is still pretty messy at the moment and I haven't been able to show it off yet, but it's finally starting to come together. I just built this awesome miter saw station and painted all the cabinets green and added gold handles, and I think it came out really clean to go along with the stained countertop I made. I started this build by breaking down all of my cedar 2x4s to their final length at the miter saw, and from there I could start gluing and assembling the frame for the seat. One thing I didn't take into consideration while designing this couch was that cedar 2x4s are actually a 1/4 inch thicker than a normal 2x4. So I had to make some adjustments to my plans because I originally thought that they were going to have the same dimensions as a normal 2x4. Once I had my rectangle for the seat framed out, I could cut out the channels for the slats to fit into. To do this, I'm just using a sacrificial fence to pull the board out a little bit, and that way the blade could cut evenly through each piece. I'm using my miter saw station to do this because it's pretty easy to do and to take multiple passes quickly. Cedar is relatively a very soft wood, so after I make my cuts, I can use a chisel to open up the groove for the slats. This method of joinery provides a ton of strength to the couch. Since I just moved into my new house not too long ago, I don't have my dust collection set up at the moment, so this process created a ton of dust for me to clean up. If you are curious, here's a 3D model that I made before we moved in that shows what I want my shop to look like eventually. Some of these ideas might change as time goes on, but I can't wait to see how everything comes together. If you are wondering what that giant green table is there for, that is to represent my pool table that I have, and I'm not exactly sure what I'm going to do with it yet. And the blue cylinder in the back left corner is to represent my water heater. And my garage is roughly 19 by 20 feet, so I want to make sure that everything fits nicely in the space. This couch is 72 inches long and will be able to seat 3 people very comfortably. I started the assembly by evenly spacing all of the support pieces and making sure that they were nice and square. I spaced the first 2 boards 24 inches from each end, and then later I will add additional supports spaced every 12 inches. If you don't want any of your screw holes to show, you can definitely use pocket hole joinery here, but in my case I really didn't care if the screw holes were showing or not. In the future I might go back and add maple dowels to the screw holes, which would give it a really nice contrast. After I lay my slats, I could screw them down to the support pieces. I'm using 1.5 inch spack screws for this because they don't require pre-drilling and I won't have to worry about the wood splitting on me. Here I am just using a scrap piece of pine that I had laying around, and I screw this into the end of the frame, which will give more support to the end of the slats. I know it looks like the gaps in between the slats look really wide, but I promise once the seat cushions are on, you don't feel the gaps at all. After my scrap board is secured to the ends, I could screw the slats down to it. Only one screw is all that is necessary here, and if you are wondering why I'm offsetting the screws to the corner of the board, that is so I don't hit the other screws that I put into the scrap piece. After that, I could add the rest of my support pieces every 12 inches, and as you can see, this provides a nice snug fit and keeps all the 1x4s in a nice straight line. If you guys are interested in building this couch for yourself, I am currently working on the plans for it, and as soon as I'm done, I will put a link down in my description below, and so you can go over to my Etsy page and check that out. Now that the seat base was complete, I could start working on the legs. The plan for the legs was to butt joint the boards where the armrest goes and then use a couple of scrap boards to center the bottom stretcher vertically. This will give the arms a little more depth, and I think it looks pretty cool. I also tried to use wood glue at every joint to make it really strong, but after watching this video back, I'm not sure if I added glue here or not. So if you want to build this yourself, definitely make sure you are gluing all of your joints. If you are trying to assemble this couch yourself, this ended up being a really good method of doing it. I first marked a line on the legs of how high I wanted the seat base to be, and then I could clamp 2x4s to it and make sure the seat base was nice and level. Then I could use more clamps to secure it tight to the arms of the couch and screw it in. At this point of the build, I started to run pretty low on 2.5-inch screws, so I just had to use an assortment of random screws I had left. I chose to just use my countersink bit and drive screws through the seat base into the arms of the couch. Very similar to how I cut out the support pieces for the seat base, I now need to do the same thing for the back of the couch, except I need to cut the 2x4s in a vertical orientation. Again, I will use my chisel to break off the majority of the material, and then I will put it in my vise to clean up all the high spots. The seat back will also need to be cut at a 15-degree angle, so I use my stop block to make sure I get accurate and consistent cuts. To attach the seat back supports, I pre-drilled and screwed it down to the corners where the slats will eventually go. And since I was running low on screws, I realized that I had some lag screws left over from a previous project, so I counterbored 2 holes on the side and attached it to the arms. This ended up making the couch very strong. I wanted to make sure all of the supports were nice and square to the slats, and to make sure of that, I clamped a 1x4 to all of the supports before I fastened them in place. For the middle supports, one screw was not going to be enough to keep the boards from turning, so I also added some additional pocket holes on the sides of the two middle supports off camera to keep them from turning. After I cut all of my 1x4s to length, I could screw them down, and again I'm using clamps to make sure the back is perfectly square while assembling. To finish off the assembly, I added a 72-inch long piece of cedar to the top of the backrest using glue and screws, and this gives the couch a much cleaner look as well as makes it very sturdy. I started by screwing the two ends flush with the outside support, and then from there I can use clamps to pull the center supports flush and make everything straight. I'm not going to show you guys the entire sanding process because that would be very boring, but one thing I did, instead of rounding over all of the edges with a router, I decided to just lightly break the edges with my orbital sander so that I could still keep that nice square look to it. After sanding, it was time to apply finish. I decided to go with Thompson's water sealer for the finish because it provides great protection to the weather, and it was easy to use in my spray gun to apply it. The finish gave the cedar a nice bright red color to it as well, which I think looks really good. And it ended up raining like 2 days after I finished it, and you could see that the finish actually repels the water away rather than absorbing it, so I'm really happy with the way that works. Here's a short clip of after it rained, and you can see how the water just sits on top of the surface until it evaporates rather than soaking into the wood. This finish will definitely prolong the life of the couch. In order to keep the water from soaking into the end grain of the cedar, I used some nail-on stainless steel furniture feet to keep the couch off the ground and out of any standing water. It's been super windy lately here in Texas, so I need to figure out a way to keep my cushions from blowing away in the wind. So I'm using Velcro adhesive to attach the cushions to the couch. The adhesive isn't as strong as I would like it to be, so one thing in the future that we're probably going to do is try to stitch it onto the cushions. But to keep the Velcro attached to the couch frame, I decided to add staples, and this keeps the Velcro securely in place when taking the cushions on and off. The couch was finally finished, and I wanted to show you guys that this couch could easily support 3 people, but we didn't have 3 people at the time, so we decided to have my dog join us. This was a very fun build, and it's very nice to finally have some outdoor furniture at our new house. I really hope you guys enjoyed this video, and be sure to like and subscribe if you haven't already, and check out some of my other videos, and I will see you guys on the next one. Thanks for watching.